This is Joy Rowland, and you're listening to the Joyful Money Podcast. This is episode number 82, Scale Your Business by Writing a Book with Stefanie Edwards. Welcome to Joyful Money, the podcast where we focus on making money the joyful way. We are done with the stress and anxiety that typically come with making money. We'll feature extraordinary and inspiring business owners who are making a huge impact by sharing their gifts and talents with the world. Pour yourself a cup of coffee or tea and let's go. Welcome to this episode of the Joyful Money Podcast. My special guest today is Stefanie Edwards. Stefanie has over 22 years of marketing expertise. She excels at transforming existing business content into compelling books that address the needs of your ideal clients. As a content strategist and professional writer, Stefanie crafts publications that informs and actively promote businesses. Her work effectively enhances brand visibility and converts readers into clients by connecting with the audience based on targeted research. Her system for developing books is called the PowerBook Method, and you can learn more in this episode. Welcome, Stefanie, to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 82 of the Joyful Money Podcast. I am so excited, and the reason I'm excited is because I have an amazing guest for you guys, and I cannot wait for you to listen to her wisdom and everything she has to share because it's going to take your business to the next level for sure. Her name is Stefanie Edwards, and she is a book coach. Welcome to the show, Stefanie.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Me too. So, Stefanie, why don't you start by introducing yourself and what you do?
Yes. So I'm so excited to chat with everybody today. And I have been in the marketing and teaching, the writing space, like anything that can fall potentially for a business under the realm of marketing, which is all the writing design elements. I've been doing that for the last 2 decades. And both my degrees are in it. And I have also taught college classes in it. But I bring all that up to say that along the way, my number one passion has always been for writing. I read and write as a hobby, and I love to read. I love to write. And so I was doing this for businesses before I ever realized and tapped into, well, what if this could be the only thing I do? What if I could just light my days up just doing writing? And so now I would call myself more a book coach, developing and sharing the ideas in book format. That way you can grow your business.
Oh, wow. That is profound. How did you land here? Like, I know you said you've been doing this for companies. How did you make that shift? What was that journey like for you?
Oh, there's so many different things. But like one, it was just for myself, because I've publishing my own books as well, because I got to get what's inside of me boiling over. And for the longest time, I thought creating a book was just too much. It was going to be too heavy, too big for me to organize my thoughts and get it all out. But I was also imagining just making it so much more complicated in my mind than it needed to be, which, kind of, we all tend to do that in one way or another about different things. And I finally just kept hearing about this person's publishing a book, this is happening, or this book could, just all these different ways. And then plus with the emergence of Amazon and reading things on Kindle, like digital books and the size of books changing, just the shift in the market, it really kind of made me think, well, maybe. And then if maybe, then what? And I just kept following that thread until I was like, Stefanie, just do it already. So it was my own push on myself that I could do this, but then it was also, Stefanie, you have a set of, I talk to myself, like I could call myself out, Stefanie, or I talk to my brain. I'm like, come on, brain. But it's a matter of just tapping in and understanding what was inside of me was this passion to write and realizing not everybody else has that same passion. I think sometimes we discount and take for granted our own skills, our own power. And that's a powerhouse for me. And I was just thinking, if somebody wants a book, they'll just go write a book. No, not necessarily, especially if they don't have writing experience, or that seems way too daunting for a different reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Like like writing a book has been on my list of things to do for such a long time. And it's just a very daunting task. Like that's the story I tell myself in my head. And I'm sure many people too, because I've met people who say, oh gosh, I've always had a dream to write a book. So I'm so excited to have you because we can learn how to start. Like, what do you tell your clients? Like, how do people start the process? Because in my head, I feel like it's a labyrinth of steps to do to get a book out and published. So then how do you get people to just take the first step?
Yes. And I love that because this is, to call it a labyrinth, to call it like so complicated and so overwhelming. One, I felt that myself, but that is a common experience and a common way that people are thinking about it. The first thing that I get people to do is just to explore what's coming so naturally to them, what's coming up naturally in conversations they're having with clients, or what are they already creating content about. Because I created, I mean, I can sit down and write you a, 1,000-word blog or 2,000 words of something, and just, it just comes out so easily on a daily basis.
Mm,
But the thought of like 80,000 words or 100, you see what I mean? All of a sudden, that big scope, I felt like that's too big. But then I thought, why does it even have to be so big? I'm not writing the next great novel. I'm writing something that needs to connect with my client. Like, just using myself as an example, I write on manifestation. Well, I need to
mm,
speak to the woman who's seeking to learn more about manifestation. Well, what specifically is she talking about on manifestation today? Like, and I could pinpoint one particular isolated idea, and then and I could just have a conversation with you about it. Well, you
mm,
can do that about what you are passionate about. And anyone listening, like, you have that thing that it lights you up. It comes so easily. You can just talk to it about anybody, anytime. You don't have to even really prepare yourself because that's your area of knowledge, your area of expertise. Let's speak to that in the book, and let's hone in specifically on that area. So instead of trying to be all things to all people, or trying to keep writing, and because I know I've picked up books and I'm like, what was the point of this book? It was all fluff, or there was some good points, but there's so much other jargon
mm,
because they're trying to hit a word count. I just threw out that idea that there had to be a certain word count. There had to be a certain length to make me have a qualified book. It's like in the days when
mm,
people discounted people being self-published, and they're like, oh no, you're only a real author if you've gone through a traditional publishing house. Thankfully, a lot of that has shifted in the market, and we don't think about it that way anymore. And
mm.
and we embrace people. Like, there can be good quality books on Amazon that people self-publish themselves, and there are really great ones, because we just have to shift the way that we're thinking about it.
Mm. So then, do you help your clients with self-publishing, or do you go down the traditional route?
That's for them to decide which route they want to go. But what the primary basis is we're going to publish your book and get it set up to publish directly to Amazon yourself. So that's how I've done it. And that's what I'm showing you, to give you the power to show you what's possible. Is like, let's just get it out there.
Mm,
The other thing that I think is really fantastic is the ability to take a digital book. So there's no printing fees. You get it on Amazon, you can go ahead and print it. But if you have a digital book that lives on Kindle, you can have an audio book that's going to live in Audible world. Like, I'm just using Amazon as the big one because it is. And then you could have the print version. So you could have, essentially, it's one book in 3 different ways that you could be making money on Amazon. But additionally, you have that digital book, you can create a marketing funnel and sell
mm.
that on your own, and sell it directly, through your website, through other resources, whatever you want to do that. So there's so many different ways that we, as publishing ourselves, have access to share our books. And it really becomes a bigger opportunity to get your message out there.
Yeah, wow. I like that so much. So, do you focus on fiction or nonfiction?
All nonfiction, because it's about taking your idea, your expertise, whatever your business is about, your consulting practice, and taking that message and sharing that into the world. So that's nonfiction.
Okay, that's amazing. So then, talk us through, based on your experience, how can someone use a book, like publishing a book? How can someone use that to increase their business revenue?
Yes. big picture idea is a book can live beyond you. I mean, think about the books that we still cherish. One of my favorites is Think and Grow Rich. Well, Napoleon Hill has been gone for many years, and yet we still read this book and treasure it as like this amazing go-to resource in the land of business. And there's so many others as well. But books can live beyond you and so create a legacy for you. But here and now, in the moment, books have so much power because they give you so much more exposure and reach than, say, you constantly creating social media posts that you're lucky if X percentage, I'm going to say X because it's like, who knows? Is it 3% today, 10%? What is it? That is actually your followers seeing your post and seeing and getting exposure to what you're writing. You're writing all these posts, you're creating all this content, and are they seeing it? Well, let's take another big avenue. Let's think about like if you were creating workshops. Workshops are great, but do they live beyond your promotion? Do they live, like, are people finding your workshops anywhere outside of your promotion and your website? Whereas think about if Amazon, right? Think about Google and think about things that people are going and they are literally on a daily basis. People that could be your potential client that would be ideal for you to work with are out there and they are searching for answers to their questions. They have a problem. You have a solution. Are you being found where they are searching? And that thing is all these can be pointing to books, and the books can keep working for you without you having to continually put out a lot of attention. Can I give you an example of this?
Yes.
I was going through one day and because I said I read a lot. So I have a Kindle Unlimited membership, which means it's kind of like the library where you can check out books on Amazon. And so I'm scrolling through Amazon and I come across a book. So I didn't even pay for it because it was free in my Kindle Unlimited membership. And the title, just by the title, is the reason I wanted to get this book, because it spoke to something I was trying to accomplish so specifically in the title, which, hint, hint, listeners, that's a clue that you don't make a title that's so oblivious or a title that's catchy. Make a title that speaks to what the person is searching and Googling for, right? What they're on Amazon looking for. And so she had a very specific title that had come up in the search. And then when I read the title and then I read the little tag that went with it, I was like, I just going to check off this book. I don't know who this person is, but they spoke so clearly in the title that I'm at least willing to get the book. I download the book and I start to read it. And it was so connective because she's telling her story and she's walking through her own experience, doing the thing that I'm looking to do, which is also another great tip on preparing a book, because it is your life experience. It's what they're going to connect with you. And so after I read her book, which was not very long, I was able to feel like I knew her. I had a sense of who she was, and I was interested in finding out more. Thankfully, she gave me a link in her book to where I could go to her website and find out other resources that, once again, this is another great tip that you can be paying attention to as you're preparing your own book. And I did that. And then I'm on her email list and I found her on social media and she had a presence, but it was because of this book. She'd put this book out a couple of years before. This was not even an active, like, brand new book. And yet, long story short, I went on to become a client of hers. So from the book, which I got for free, I went in and then I bought a small ticket program from her. It was under $100. I devoured that. It was so good. And then I got another thing. And then eventually I ended up buying one of her higher ticket products and just being in her orbit and connecting with her, all because of the book.
Wow.
It's powerful.
Wow, this is so powerful. And this is why I do this podcast, right? So that people can hear real life stories. Like, this is just very powerful about what the power of a book can do for your business. And if it happened for one person, I bet you there were other people on Amazon that followed the same route you did. And like, this is so profound. And this is 2 years after. Right?
Yes, and now it's been 2 years since even that experience. Like, and the book is still out there. And I was talking with somebody recently, and I can't, I don't have permission to share who they are, but they're a bigger name in the industry, and they published a book. It's under 50 pages digitally. It's all in digital format. It's published on Amazon. And I was talking to the person who's a part of their team, and they were sharing, and they're like, we've already made $300,000 off of just book sales. And that's not even considering all the people who have joined into our program or done other things because of what has come from this book, because they read this book. And because I was in that space and I was there talking with other people, I literally ran into somebody who had just paid thousands of dollars to be in this place. And she's like, I don't even know anything about this person outside of the book. I literally read the book last week, saw they had an event, bought the ticket, I'm here. It was just that fast because people run at different paces and your book can speak to them in those ways. Now, let's connect this back to you for a second. You have a podcast, and a podcast is another great way that you can achieve some of these same goals that we have with the book. Except a book delivers it all at once, whereas the podcast is week after week, building that rapport and that relationship. But people who listen to your podcast on the regular, they have a sense of who you are. They get a sense of your personality and why they like you, and how you articulate and share ideas, and then particularly about the content that you're sharing, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
We're doing the same thing, but we're just packaging it in a book. So another great tip is whatever platform you're already using in your business, if that is just strictly social content, or maybe you're creating video content, you're creating a podcast, you're building workshops, you have recorded coaching calls, this is where you can find the content for your book. So this is what I'm doing differently. This is what I have done for 20 years is I've been a part of businesses, or I've been working with freelancers, and I guide them to create the content that we're developing. And then I take that content and I turn it into multiple different things, repurposing content. A lot of people have heard that term, but we're thinking about just repurposing it to turn like a workshop into short reels and social media posts. But that workshop could become your next book. You see what I mean? Like, why can we not tweak it and now, or take multiple podcast episodes that have spoke towards one direction? And what comes so naturally to people, they may not want to write, but they're like, I record podcasts every week. Is there anything you could work with here? And I'm like, yes. Like, especially on your episodes where you've been really passionate, you've gone deeper on a topic and it's really shared from your heart. You had story that was in there and it engaged people. There's things that we can take from that to help shape the book. And we're answering that question that they are on Amazon already looking for. We shape that into the form of your book. And then you have now this unlimited, really, resource that can be out there, shared with people, engaging them and drawing them back into your world.
Oh gosh, like you just gave us lots of golden nuggets. And like I'm frantically taking notes, and I know people listening will be taking notes as well. So my next question is, well, many people, the reason why they don't go ahead with writing a book is because of the cost. Like traditionally, you might wait to get like a book deal, get paid up front, and then all of the cost involved, right? So how does that relate to what you do? Like the cost involved in publishing a book?
In comparison, it's like pennies on the dollar. Like, I don't have a statistic to give you. I'm sure you could Google and find like the data for the percentage of people who actually get those big royalty advances with traditional publishers, because the market has changed so much, and what it takes to accomplish that. The other thing is how much of an investment traditional publishers are still going to ask you to make. The reason a lot of people get these big book deals is because they've done the work and they have huge, giant audiences. And so the book publisher is like, okay, I feel like a lot of the risk is gone, that we will sell books because this person has, 100,000 followers or millions of followers or whatever. And so they're going to buy the book. They're looking for those kind of things. You can strive for that and keep working for that, which is one of the things that was like my big mountain in front of me. Or we can just try a different paradigm and a different approach and be like, okay, let's use the book to draw people in and let that be a part of the book becomes our marketing strategy versus a strategy to get us ready to write the book. Does that make sense? And so we're flipping that around. And then we're also lowering the cost because you're directly going in, and there's different ways that I put out in my workshop. I talk about is like, you can be the expert writer, but if you're not, well, what's it going to take? What expense are you going to have to go through to become good enough to write the book? There's one mountain people put in front of them that they have to conquer. And I went to a workshop recently that was for business owners who want to write a book. Well, that was what they said, who want to write a book. So to be fair, all of a sudden they started talking a lot about what it's going to take for you to write your book. And generating the ideas and writing the content and write. There's so much writing, which translates to what? It translates to time. So all of
Yes.
a sudden, these business owners who have to run their business, a lot of them are independent business owners, they have so much to do. And especially if writing is not their natural forte, their natural gift, now all of a sudden they have to step in and do something they're not good at and spend a lot of time doing it. And so what I'm
Mm.
showing people in my method is like, let's eliminate that. That just became another mountain we don't have to scale, which is going to save you time and money. And so you don't have to be an exceptional writer. You don't have to have a ton of writing experience to come in and create a book with the method I'm going to teach you. Because like I said earlier, it's going to be using what already comes naturally to you. So where are you creating content? Almost every business today is creating content in some way, shape, or form. Let's find what comes naturally to you and let's get you started there. And let's
Wow.
build from there. So lowering the cost, lowering the time investment, lowering your commitment for what it's going to take to be able to create a book for your business. That's my goal.
I love this so much. I'm taking this in because I am the person that wants to write a book. So I'm asking all the questions that I know the listener has. And
Yes.
one of them you touched on very briefly there is the timeline. Like, how long is it going to take from joining your program and getting all my ideas out to actually publishing my book on Amazon?
Okay. So hang with me because this is going to sound really like, what? Really? But I'm giving you 30 days. One month.
Really?
Because we've got to overcome all those mountains that we just talked about. And we've got to break through all those limiting beliefs that you've been holding on to about how hard and challenging this is going to be. I have a method I'm going to walk you through. So I do one of two things. Either you can come in and be a part of my accountability group, and I'm literally going to be in touch with you on a daily basis, and we're going to be going over this, and you're going to have to follow the plan, the action plan that's going to get you to have a book done in 30 days. Like it's going to walk you through that. Or if you're like, okay, well, that sounds great, but it's still maybe too much for me. Or I just want you to handle it. Like you go do it. I will give you a book done in 30 days with my done for you program. And so then I would literally do all the process and extract the information that's coming from your business. It's already the good, like thinking about you as an example, you already have a podcast, you already have other resources. I was looking through your website and you have different lead magnets that have lots of content in them, lots of good nuggets. Like there's already so much that we can extract and pool and start to develop out what this book is going to look like. And remember, listener, tip coming, like we're answering the question that people are on Amazon looking for. So one, you could just go to Amazon and start typing in what you think people in your market are going to look for and do the same thing on Google. Do the same thing on, if you've heard of Ask the Public, use that domain. You can get, I think, 3 free searches a day and see how people are searching for the things that your business is about. And then I have an advanced software that I pay for that gives me some more insights into the Amazon and lets me see, like I can see what other books are out there, how they market themselves, like the keywords that they're using, how much money they're making on a book, how many people are buying with the frequency of these books. That's another thing. I've changed the direction that we think we're going to go in a book because the searches show us people aren't searching for it that way. They're searching for it a different way. My perfect example for this is like, especially in America, like different regions, we say things differently. And so like refrigerator is the name of the appliance, but in some places people say fridge. Or some people, I grew up saying shopping cart and I moved to a different part of the country and they said buggy. I was like, what's a buggy?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's the same thing when we think about the words that you're going to use in your title, the words that you're going to use to promote and engage your book. We need to focus on those keywords, the way your audience is saying it, how they're typing it in, because even how they say it might be different than how they're going to type it into Amazon.
Awesome. So then how about proofreading and design? Like how does that happen in your program?
Yes. So once again, that's just another step that we have to break down for you so it doesn't become this huge mountain. And with my background, I have a ton of graphic design experience. So I have designed my own covers. And as a done for you program, that's something I can assist my clients with. And same thing, helping to edit out and format, there's editing, but there's also the formatting of your book because it has to be done a certain way so that you can publish it to Amazon and it's going to look good when people pull it up on their devices, right? And so there's different steps that you have to go through to be ready for those things. So once we get your book done, that's the first part. We've got to get your book done. Then you can pursue and see what else you want to do for how you want to publish the book and what that's going to look like. So those are really falling into the next steps category.
Gosh, I love this so much. So I personally have gone through the process. I've published a book, self-published on Amazon. This was in 2019.
Okay.
Well, my book was on my experience in my 9 to 5 job. So my background is in IT. So I compiled all of the questions I would ask if I was hiring someone in my IT role,
Yes.
packaged that into a book, and it's on Amazon right now. So like I love what you said because it's just the work you do one time and you get paid over and over again. So I just did that work one time. It doesn't look as pretty as your books, Stephanie, but that was just my haphazard way of doing it. But it's on Amazon and I get royalties from it. But like going forward, obviously, based on my experience being a coach, coaching people on business and money, I think I can actually put together a better looking book.
Mm.
So I know we have talked about using me as an example of how you'd help someone to plan their book. So if we can do that so that the audience have a sense of how it will be like when they come work with you.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I would say there too, before we do that, is your book, you said 2019. So now we're recording in 2024. You could do a refresher. You could do an updated version, especially because there's so much that has probably changed in the
Yeah.
IT world. And
I actually wanted to take down the book because some of the information is outdated now, and I didn't want people to keep buying. So
yeah,
yeah.
so you could do the updated version and you could include in more things for what's needed. Speaking to that particular book. Okay, so brainstorming for just a second. When you think about a book today, brand new book, what's the first thing that pops in your mind? If you had a book for your business, what would you want it to be about?
Yeah, I want it to be about people realizing that they have all the power, for them to step out of their inner critic, to be able to have the confidence to move forward. And the reason this is very close to my heart is because of my background, all of the uh, all of the poverty, all of the limiting beliefs I had to face. Being a girl from Africa, I couldn't speak English at the age of 25, and coming to the Western world to like make way for myself. So then my passion is to show people that you can be whatever you want to be, regardless of where you're starting from. Maybe you don't speak English. Maybe you don't have the right education, right? But I want to inspire people to see that wealth, abundance is possible for them. I know that's a very long answer, but I just wanted to give you like a sense of where I want my book to go.
Okay, I'm finishing my little quick note here.
Mhm.
When I hear what you just said, yes, that's more than what people are going to be typing in to search for. So we have to find what is it that they are actually going to search for so we can come up with that. One of the things that you said that I think it could speak to a large part of this, and once again, there's no right or wrong right now. All we're doing is brainstorming. Okay, so I want the listener to hear that this could 100% still change because I don't have any software pulled up. We're simply just brainstorming. We're just riffing. So we would do the research. We would do the research based on an idea that we come up with. That's where we would go next. But one of the things that you said that I thought was really powerful, that I was like, okay, maybe somebody would start to go this direction, is silencing the inner critic or silencing the voice that like keeps telling them, no, it's not possible, right? Like however we can get to that. If that was like I'm looking at what is our overarching message, and then all the different stories that you have about your own experience and coming to a different country, not speaking the language, how you've overcome that, all the different things. your stories that you're telling become the premise of the lesson you're teaching. So it's about the use of storytelling through your own experiences. That is what is going to captivate people to like you and to engage with you and like your tone in which you are sharing. Because nobody wants, I've been a college professor for over 10 years. I've written a lot of curriculum. I've read a lot of different textbooks that are out there. You know, the textbooks typically, they're improving, but over the years, they've just been so dry bones. They've just been like, and there's nothing to get really excited when you're just reading pages and pages of just facts and information, and it's just blah, right? But when you can actually bring it to life and characterize it and engage the reader, now they want to know more about it, right? That makes sense to us, how we consume and how we want to learn. And yet in the academic space, it's stayed so just like, wah, wah, wah. So how can we make it more fun? Well, that's why so many business owners have created podcasts and workshops, and they just tell it how it is. They're much more direct. They're much more conversational, and they're telling it with the use of story and just this engaging conversation. And that's what is working in our society, which you think a lot of attention spans have been brought way down because of social media. And we want things delivered really fast. We want them really pointy, and we want connection. That's what you can give with your book, because you just, in that little synopsis, there were so many different things that we could elaborate on to share the principle of how you silence that inner critic, how you overcame, and they can too. Does it make sense where I'm heading?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it does make sense. Like, I love how you gave me like an overall thing that I can then build on, which is how to silence your inner critic. Right? I love that. So I can then start to expand using my personal story and the lessons I've learned, because obviously I didn't get here just by my own knowledge and wisdom. I've had to pay coaches. I've had to be I've had to be in programs, right? So all of those things I've learned along the way, I can share my experience and say, this is what I did when I faced this challenge, and this is how I overcame. Yeah, I love this so much. So it seems like we have a plan for my book.
Yeah, you would start there, and then we would do the research to find, would they actually type in something like inner critic, which my first inclination would be saying no. So we would have to search and see. So how else would they be searching for this? What, once again, they have a problem that they're trying to solve, but typically a lot of people don't know how to quite label their problem. And they're not necessarily
They're
using
feeling
the
not good enough. Yeah, like feeling not good enough, feeling not worthy,
yes,
feeling undeserving, right?
of doing what, and then attach that to doing what.
Mm,
One book that came to mind that he self-published, I can't remember the exact title, but it's something like From Trash Man to Cash Man or something like that. And there's like a premise with it, but it's Myron Goodwin, I think is his last name. But he has done a lot, and he talks about his journey from poverty to wealth creation. And the book is to teach you these principles of wealth, but he does it through talking about, like, he started as, picking up trash and doing different things, to being this guy who's speaking on stages about the wealth and abundance he's created. And the premise there is just, but you're attaching to the book. You pick up the book because you too feel like you're in a place you don't want to be, right? And you have a challenge to overcome. And he's definitely saying, I'm going to address speaking to how to overcome a challenge, but towards what end? Towards making money. And so people know that this is a book that's going to give them some insights on what it's going to take to overcome your challenges to start to make the money. Does that make sense?
yes,
So
yes.
silencing your inner critic could be how I feel as a mother, right? Or how I want to make a business, or, just so many different things. And so I would even get more specific in, when you get towards that direction, towards giving them a target. What is that goal that they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, it has to be money, because that's all I'm about, like getting to the next level. And yeah, one of the things I teach and one of the things I want to talk about in the book is you have to feel wealthy from the inside. So whatever the income goal is, until you feel worthy, from the inside and not looking for all of these external things to make you feel whole and accepted. Yeah, so that's one of the angles I want to talk about too, in the book. So yeah, it has to come back to abundance, making more money, building wealth, creating a legacy for our children coming behind us.
Very good. I mean, there's so much there. That's going to be so much richness and goodness in the book that people can really attach to. And we just have to do the research so we can get people to actually pick up the book. Yeah. And I think that's, I was in a community group thing online the other day, and somebody said, I've just published my book, and he was promoting, talking about his book that he put out. And I read the title and I said, I have no idea. Like in my brain, I'm thinking, I have no idea what this book is about. And it was just the title on the cover. Like he didn't have any artwork done. So it was just like a plain gray cover, solid background, and just words. And the words don't make any sense. And I was like, oh no, I feel so bad for this guy. Like he's not a client of mine or anything. I just saw this happen in a group. And I was like, and it's that kind of thing we want to avoid, because somebody's going to put a book out like that and they're going to go, oh, books don't work. But it's like anything else. You have to have a tactical plan. You have to have a method that you're going to follow so you actually can get the results that you're seeking. Because yeah, that's why I'm really honing in here, that you would do the solid research to understand what people are actually searching for, and then make that message in your title and in your book the core foundation, so people can actually get the book that they are searching for. They can find you.
Wow, this is so amazing. I'm just looking at my computer. I cannot believe it's 45 minutes already. Wow. Okay. So I know we have to wrap up, but like I hope the listeners can see how Stefanie can help them to come up with a book plan. Like this is just amazing. So then what would be the next step after the book plan? It would be like to write and right? That's the next step.
Right. We're going to start curating. That's the word I like to use, curating your book, because it's not all just writing. And the last thing I want for you, especially if you're coming to this and you're not a strong writer, is it can seem really daunting to sit down and open up a Word doc and be like, now what?
Yeah.
Now what am I,
Maybe now what? ChatGPT. Maybe ChatGPT. Because I know use ChatGPT to write.
And there's a balance there, because there are people out there who right now are like, I'll get you a book in the next day, because they're just going to jump on AI and let AI write the whole thing. But then you're going to end up with weird words in your book, like bespoke and delve, all these weird words that ChatGPT is known for using, that we're like, what is this word? And I have used ChatGPT as an assistant. If I got stuck on something and I need to brainstorm, I'm brainstorming back and forth. And you got to know, I mean, you know this, like you have to give it a solid foundation, so you're going to get the responses you're looking for. And it's a good thing when you have the research that you've been gathering from Amazon and Google and all the other things that you're doing, to start to say, okay, here's my research I'm finding. Can you help me analyze this? Can you help? You see what I mean? So it can help at different stages. It can even help as being a proofreader and grammatical editing, all the different things. You also want to have Grammarly installed on your computer if you don't already. That's a great AI resource. So we're using it in so many different ways. The art that I used as part of my cover design, I didn't hire an illustrator to draw that. I was specific about what I wanted, and I used an app called Midjourney. Like there's so many different ways that we can use AI to integrate to make the process easier. But there's also this element that there's the personal humanized touch, obviously, that makes this really shine, is going to make your book stand out. So the curation project, which is pulling pieces from the content that already exists, extracting the knowledge and goodness that already lives in your head, and having those elements coming together, and then wrapping that together to see, okay, where else do we need to create new content to fill in any of these gaps? And so we feel like we have a complete book that's coming together. That's a part of the process I work through. So we're not starting with the blank screen, and we're not starting with the whole mountain to climb.
This is so good, Stefanie. I can talk about this all day. I'm sure someone listening to us will be very curious. They want to check out your books on Amazon. Can you tell us what your books are?
So I have a book coming out. It's going to be coming out just in, I'd say by the time this releases, it will already be out. So yes, I have one right now. It's Stress Release for Women, and I changed that title to be so specific. So, listener, I'm doing my own practice because I left inside the book the more playful chapter titles, but I made the title so it's searchable, Stress Release really for Women. And that is a 30-day guide. So it's meant to be read one day at a time, walking people through that. And just as a tip, a lot of that came because I had so many different blogs and different messages that I had been building throughout the years in my coaching practice and different things that I've done. And I was able to curate those, there's that verse, and put those together and allow all of them to speak towards one common theme, which is stress relief. And because if you're carrying a lot of anxiety, you're carrying a lot of overwhelm, it's going to be hard to do anything else. So that's like a foundation. And then the next one that's coming out is speaking more towards your faith and the size of your faith, because that's where a lot of women get stuck and can't move beyond and manifest anything else because their faith is too small. So then I talk about and break that down. Now that's traditional book format, not the 30-day increments. So there's so many different ways that you can create the book and put them out. All of my books and the books that I'm walking my clients through are shorter and tighter books. So if we have to stick a page count to it, imagine something more like 50-ish pages versus 200 plus pages. So you can already see like the size difference, but think what this does. The whole goal of this is to give somebody a book that is easier to consume, is going to keep their attention because they have short attention spans. Sadly, they're saying we have the attention spans less than a goldfish. So we're like 7 to 8 seconds. So you got to keep that in mind, because I alone have bought a lot of different books throughout the years. I have books I have yet to even open.
Yeah.
They're sitting there because they're thick and they're great. I'm not going to deny that there's something in that book that there's a reason I got the book in the first place. But to make time to get to reading that book versus you can sit down and read somebody's book and go through their book in an hour or two. So you get the full idea, even if it's just one concept, but you get that full idea. Well, now you have something you can work with versus somebody never even cracks your book, or they've only read your fluffy introduction or a message somebody wrote about you. You see what I mean? There's a difference in the amount of time that it's going to take somebody just to get through the first few chapters and not even really like you're just setting the stage. So many of those big books are just setting the stage. Let's just dive in and have the conversation. And so the book that I have coming out on faith, it's immediately like, okay, you're not manifesting because your faith is too small. Let me show you how. I'm in the conversation and I'm sharing the stories and the engagement as we go through it. But it's tight, it's focused so that you can see, okay, here's what I needed. And now what's my next step?
And what's the title of the second book?
I will have to give that to you. I haven't. I'm reaching the book before I put the title together. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. So listeners, I'm going to have all of the links in the show notes.
Yeah.
So you can go on Amazon and benefit from all of Stefanie's wisdom and knowledge. So Stefanie, someone is listening that want to take this to the next level. I know you talked about your accountability group. Can you tell the listeners ways they can connect with you and take this to the next level?
Yes. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, I mean, we obviously want to make sure that we're a good fit to work together, because you don't want somebody in your corner and you're like, okay. So understanding that. So I have a live workshop that I host throughout the month. So I do one a month where we are actually spending time and we're all together in a group and we're doing this brainstorming and we're going in a deeper dive, and we've got the software pulled up and we're going through and we're leaving you, when you've done with that workshop, like you have an action plan of like, okay, now I have a vision of what it could be and where I want to go next. So that's the point. It's to get past that I don't know what to do phase, or this is too big phase, and to bring it down so you have an action plan. So that's part of it. Or you can do a one-on-one consult, and we just do that on an individual basis. Either way, do it as a group or do it one-on-one, but we've got to have that initial planning and initial getting to know you phase to see if you are ready for what comes next.
Okay. And would you provide the links to those, like for the group one, the accountability group?
Yes, I'll give you all those so we can put those into the show notes and make that easy.
Oh gosh, this is so good, Stephanie. I am so glad I had you on the show. We are out of time. Typically, we go 20 minutes max, but we are almost at an hour. So please forgive me. Just had to go. Like I couldn't stop, and I'm glad I did. So before I let you go, do you have any final words for our listeners?
Just to be encouraged that it can be more achievable and easier than you've been making it out to be in your brain. It does not have to be as hard, and you can go out there and you can make something great to share with people.
Amazing. Mic drop. Thank you so much, Stephanie. It's been a joy having you on the podcast. I will try my best, listeners, to bring her back. I promise. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, very quickly before you go, if this podcast inspired or encouraged you in any way, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and share this with a friend. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate your kindness and generosity in doing this. We'll see you back here on the next episode. Bye bye.